Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. This is just a quick watering session of Derek's plants. For those of you who are new to the channel or missed out on that, our chairman with Bournemouth Orchid Society, a long-standing chairman, 40 odd years membership and all that sort of stuff, died at Christmas. It was last year, not the Christmas just gone, the one before. And he had a collection that was a recollection, strange set of circumstances. He was in moving house, so all of his orchid collection had to be moved, and he became ill, and he lost a lot of that orchid collection. So he'd begun recollecting, getting cuttings, divisions and things off of friends, members of other societies, nurseries, just basically trying to get his collection back together. And then unfortunately he passed away. So what he had was passed out. His wishes were to give the plants away to for donations to the society, so that society members could keep his collection going, sort of as a memory. And despite when the email come round, I put my oar in instantly. When that email dropped, I replied to it. I was far from the first to get a look in. So obviously others had had a pre-look in, and most of the best plants were gone. Nonetheless, the plants that I've got, some of which are incredibly rare and irreplaceable. So it's a bit like that, looking after them. Now I started with 20, I've lost 2. But these are just going to get a low feed today, so we'll just have a quick look at each one. Many haven't got labels, and many have got labels that I can't find on the internet, like this one. Now this one has pushed up a new growth, so it is trying. I wouldn't say it's trying very hard, but not dead yet. Very poor roots, but it's got a couple. And these plants are just getting a low feed today. They've had 3 flushes on the trot, and the gap between watering averages between 15 and 20 days. At this time of year, with very little growth, in a pot with no roots, or virtually no roots, there's no point in giving them lots of water and feed, because it'll just lose the roots that they've got. What's this one doing? See, now this one is growing a nice strong new growth and has some roots. Unfortunately it has no label, which is often the flipping case. So we don't even know what this one is. But whatever it is, it's making an effort. Now a lot of his plants, well, virtually all of Derek's plants were cool growers. They were odontoglossums and the like. And some of the labels actually state that they're oncidiums. Well, that will just be where they've been reclassified. Some might have been. I mean, like this one says Oncidium laeve. Now that may well be Odontoglossum originally, and it's been reclassified. I don't know, and until I get something worth talking about, I don't really care. They're all getting treated the same. As I said, they're all coolish growers. So I'm hoping that this year they might do a bit better here than they did in the other place, because they won't get the intense heat with any luck. Now again, whatever this is, it's got some roots. In fact, it's almost filling the pot. So this one's doing okay. And the latest growth is not bad. But, so I've got to keep my eye on that. I'll show you what I'm getting at. That pseudo bulb has got a ridge on it that looks like it's discoloured, which made me think it was rotting. That was where, prior to me repotting it, it was buried in the media and it stained it. So panic not in this case. But this one is coming on. This has some roots. So all I need on this one really is a new growth, and that one's going to do okay, whatever it is. So some of these have got tags, but quite a lot haven't. This looks like it'll be the next one in the bin. And this says Odontoglossum Cristatellum. But what we've got here is a shriveled pseudobulb with a new growth that's aborted, so it's stopped growing. So this may not make it, but nonetheless it does have a couple of roots showing. So that'll just go in the not dead yet, you know. Maybe it will pull on. And I've got a feeling in my notes there's 2 of these, or potentially 2 of them. So maybe the other one's doing a bit better. I'll say some of these have got some very complex labels. I've worked out what this one is. It started with cheese Britannium or something like that, and I'm confident this is the Mexicoa, so this is the same as the one I've got on the mount. And it was just written down wrong in several places, which meant when I did a look up on the internet, it said, "Not having none of that, mate, it doesn't exist." But if you change the CH at the beginning to a GH, it gives you a clue. I don't think that's going to make it, is it? Oh, that'd be a shame. Was an awarded plant. It's an Odontocidium, and it's Mayfair Golden Gate, awarded by the American Orchid Society. And what we've got here is 2 pseudobulbs, a growth that's rotted, and an attempt at another new growth that is incredibly weak. So that's highly likely to be the next one in the bin, but we'll give it a chance. You never know. But all it's got, unfortunately, in this particular case, all it's got is its new growth. The backup's not there. Those 2 pseudobulbs are useless. They've just, you know, they've ceased to function. So that tiny little new growth that probably isn't going to get any bigger is unlikely to produce another one, is it? Right. Well, this says Oncidium praestans, and this has some roots and its new growth isn't bad. So this one should pull on. But the trouble is, all of them were neglected quite badly, and being small divisions, they desiccated. So they're starting from a weakness, they're not starting from a strong point. So even though that's grown a new growth, it's a weak new growth, and it hasn't got very good roots, and it's probably going to take yet another new growth on top of that to even get going. No label again, but again that's got a reasonable new growth coming. Next to no roots, but we shall see. So these haven't seen any water for 15 days, but they're still not dust dry, because you know, if there's no roots in the pot, then the only way it's going to dry out is evaporation. So it's not the plant that's drying the media out. This says Oda, the Odontodia, I think that's short for, Cooksoniae. So again, that's a strange one, because Cooksoniae sounds like a species, doesn't it? But it's got a capital C, so it's a hybrid. Nonetheless, the new growth isn't bad. However, it hasn't formed a decent sized pseudobulb and didn't grow, well, hardly any roots. So it's still virtually rootless. But I'm hoping with these that they've settled in their pot. The media's relatively new because they haven't used it much, and it doesn't get watered very often. So I'm hoping when the longer days come, it might perk up. See, now this would probably be irreplaceable. Now this is one of those that the pseudobulbs, the old pseudobulbs, go virtually black. That's natural in some of these. And again, that says Oda, so it's Odontodia, I believe, and it's Lutix crossed with McBean's Aster. Try getting that again. Hopefully you wonder who did the cross. Anyway, I mean that's got quite a strong new growth on it. It's a pity it didn't put out a load of roots with it, but you know, that looks like it's going to make it. Ugh. Blimey. The repotting history on here is ridiculous, but that was the repotting history of the mother plant, I suspect. Now, this is a Wilsonara Tiger Brew Yellow, says here. And again, the new growth's not exceptional, but it's there. And the backup bulbs have not shriveled. And we have a few roots, so this one should pull on. So we might get somewhere with that one. As I say, I'm hoping that when the longer days come, it's going to be a trigger for these plants. So where have they been doing nothing for some considerable time? I'm hoping that the longer days are going to trigger something. Yeah, like hell. I'm not going to do the whole story again, but you can see what that says. And this one actually flowered a while back, and it had pink flowers, so it's not that. It's Soto Ann. We've already been through that enough times. I'm not doing it again. See, now this is in a larger pot. It has a new growth, not very good one, but it does have a bit of root activity in the pot. So, and the older bulbs on this one are not shriveled, so this one should push out another new growth at some point, and hopefully then it will produce a decent root system. And then the last one. No tag on this one, but this was the only mature plant I managed to get. And I mean, this one's not bad. It doesn't have lots of new roots in the pot, but it does have roots. And it hasn't really done much. I think that's a new growth, I'm not sure. But this should be pushing out some more new growth soon. Highly likely. But no tag on this one. But this was one of the larger ones. I got very few larger plants simply because they were all gone by the time I got there. Despite believing I was at the front of the queue. But I obviously wasn't. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Right, we're out. We're out. There's 14 there, and there are 2 that are not with these, which is the radiata and the coleogyny. Those 2 have always been kept separate, even though they are Derek's plants. But in my notes, I've got 18. Well, if there's 14 here and 2 elsewhere, that's 16. So 2 have gone missing, and I don't know which ones they are. Chances are they were ones that have been dumped because they've rotted, and they didn't have a label in them, so I don't know which one to take out of the notes, if you see what I mean, because quite a few had no labels. So we're down to 16 in total from 20, so 4 have been lost so far. Out of what's left, I would think there are 2 that are probably not going to make it, and that's this one, which is that's the Cristatellum. I don't think that's going to make it somehow. And then the other one that's probably not going to make it is this one, and this is highly unlikely to make it. The only way that's going to make it is if these 2 bulbs that are badly discoloured, if that's natural, which I highly doubt. Because with a tiny little new growth like that, and the only place for a new growth to come is off of that new growth, I can't see that happening. So there's probably another 2 to go. So as I said, there are some very rare plants in there. Probably common in their day, but they're old crosses. They're very old hybrids that go back a long, long way, and that would be before cloning. So this would have been, you know, seed production, and then, you know, pick out the best ones sort of thing, and possibly hybrid those again. That was the methodology in those days. You didn't have this cloning mechanism going on. So you know, to get a good cross, you know, you might get 100 plants or something like that, but out of those, there might only be 20 that are worth keeping. A lot used to just get thrown away in those days because they didn't perform that well. So out of what was left, there wouldn't be many, you know. So some of the crosses ended up being very rare. And sometimes you go back in these old private collections and there's a lovely specimen plant of something or other, and you look at the name and you think, I've never heard of that before, and you look into the history of it and the chances are that is the only one. It's the only one left because it's managed to hold on in a private collection. So these sort of things do happen. And unfortunately some of these rarities and you know, very old crosses and things like that, when somebody passes away, sometimes their whole collection is lost because nobody knows, and nobody knows to go and help with the orchids prior to their demise, if you see what I mean. It's like, I said to Hannah here, I said, well, it was actually round the other house, I said, if I dropped dead on the kitchen floor, nobody would know for weeks and weeks and weeks. You know, my orchids would all be dead. Especially at times, you know, like winter time when I don't really go out much. And often when I go out, I go on a field trip or something like that, unless I do a video, nobody knows. Nobody knows where I've been. You know, I do nearly all of those things on my own, and that's how I like it. But yeah, you spend an awful lot of time as a single lone person, and you have some sort of, you know, dramatic tragedy, nobody would find you for weeks on end. Anyway, on a brighter note, that's just a quick look through Derek's plants. As I said, a lot of them are unnamed, and quite honestly, if they bloom, trying to identify them might still be very difficult if they are very old crosses. You know, because again, the internet won't be flooded with pictures of them, will they? You know, will it? So there we go, quick look at those, and I've got stuff to do today. Not a lot, but stuff to do nonetheless. I've got some washing on. But, you know, when you open the drawer and you think, oh, there's no socks left. You open the other drawer and think, oh, I haven't got any clean shirts. It's time to do some washing. So, but it's not as easy to dry clothes off here in the winter because the radiators are not the right shape to hang things on. They're really tight to the wall, and they're not very big as well. So it's not so easy to get stuff dry. I end up air drying it for a day or two, you know, just sort of evaporation in the warmth of the room, and then try and air them off on the radiator. That's the best I can do. I mean, you know, come the better weather, they'll go out in the garden and blow in the breeze and all that sort of stuff and get pooed on by birds flying over and stuff like that, you know. All good fun. See you next time. Bye for now.